Welcome to the episode 4 of Growing the Game podcast. Kweku Kekele is my name, and I have with me Mr. Manye Lisa. He is the editor of the Big Tip Off. Welcome, Chief, and I hope you're doing good.
Thank you, Kwaku, for the invite, and good evening to you and the viewers.
Yeah, good evening, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on my podcast. We've been planning this for long, but I think we finally made it happen.
Thank you for the invite again. I really appreciate it, man, and love the work that you're doing. And may it keep your podcast keep growing, man. It can only
Thank you, sir.
benefit basketball.
Yeah, the mission is to grow basketball in Africa. If we don't do it, there is no one who's going to do it for us. So we have to take the mantle and just keep pushing basketball in Africa. Yeah, so today
No
we
doubt.
just have some few things we're going to talk about. Before we will start, maybe we'll look at the review of the Sahara Conference. The BL is still in progress, so we will have to look at the Sahara Conference and how it went. Then we'll look at the upcoming Nile Conference, which will be happening on the 17th of May, which is Saturday, and the South African Basketball National League also happening on the 17th. So these are what we're going to look at. So
Yeah.
quick forward, I want your assessment on the Sahara Conference, a brief something on how you saw the Sahara Conference which took place in Senegal.
Yes, the Sahara Conference is usually described as one of the toughest conferences in the BAL, and this year again it lived up to that kind of description. We saw the defending champions Petro struggle in the group stages, and a team like Monastir redeeming themselves this time around after getting knocked out in 2023 after winning it the year before they got knocked out in 2023. So it just speaks to the degree of difficulty of this conference.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I can attest to the fact that this conference is really difficult because we saw some shocking results and some things we didn't expect to happen in this conference, especially with the way Crostar stood up and then surprised everyone. Initially, people thought Crostar was the weakest team in that conference because if you look at the signings each team made and the way they came into the tournament,
Yeah.
you would say the favorite was to be Petro de Luanda, then US Monastir, then ASC Ville de Dakar, before you even mention Crostar.
Yeah, before you even reached Querel Star. Yeah, I think, I was also surprised that the home side, Ville de Dakar, got knocked out, especially after getting good results early on. But you can see, there's no, script to this game, You've just got to go out there and play your heart out.
Exactly.
One thing that did concern me about Creole Star was the quality of their bigs,
Exactly.
That is probably one of the most important part in basketball where the rebounding, you have the bigs that can crash you boards.
The rebounds.
We saw that who's this Ivan Almeida who you interviewed recently. He was the
Exactly.
leading rebounder in the tournament. So yeah.
Exactly.
Who else? In the final game, you saw that they started Louis Uvo of Nigeria, and in that he had a monster game against Petro de Luanda, and it was a must-win game, and he stepped up for them in that department.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so that was an exciting conference, and I think that will be one of the interesting conference I've ever watched or witnessed since I started watching this BAL thing. It was, I think, US Monastir went away with a 4-2 with 2 losers and 4 wins.
Yes.
Petro, the reigning champion, Petro de Rwanda, came in 3. Criosta also came in 3-for-3. We had home team Ville de Dakar, which came in 2-for-4, 2 wins and 4 losses. So I think this season the home teams are lacking behind, but I don't know what really the problem is for the home teams because we saw Faz de Rabat also sits in Morocco and struggled a bit. I don't know what's wrong with the home teams now.
I think it probably speaks to the strength of domestic leagues on the continent. I mean, one thing I did note was like teams tend to rely heavily on import players, which kind of affects the chemistry within the teams. If you check a team like Petro de Luanda and how the coach used his rotations, he usually starts with the majority Angolan
of the home
players.
team.
So it speaks to the strength
Yeah.
of that domestic league there that, there is you can trust the home base players to get you the results.
So, talking about home players, is it that the coaches don't believe in their players, in the players that qualify them to the stage to participate or to perform? Because we see each and every time they bring in imports, then they give less time to the players that actually qualified them to the tournament.
Exactly. I mean, it's also on the coaches to decide, hey, you guys got us here, you will get more minutes or equal amount of minutes as the foreign players. Because again, as I said, chemistry is always important going into this tournament. You have to make sure that all the pieces fit on the court. And that's
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
why ASV Dakar got knocked out. Fuzraba, they are in third place. Hoping that results go their way. Yeah, those are the things that you have to consider when you bring import players. That they are guys that fit the system, and there's no rush. For them to like fit in, and to get them acquainted with your system.
Talking about bringing in the import players and the coaches, how they rotate them. I think after the Sahara conference, we saw some comments made by the Ville de Dakar coach, whereby he didn't speak well of the imports, and I think I find that very very, how do I say it, very insulting. Sorry to say, but I find that very insulting for a coach of his pedigree to sit on a platform like the BAL press conference and say that about import players who were brought in to help your team, because you should know that import
Hmm.
players play in a different
Well,
system where they come from. Yeah, they play in a different system. Now
yeah.
you bring them in to fit in into your system, and it's not going to be easy for them to fit in into the system because most of the players come in like 3 days, 4 days to the tournament, and you don't expect them to do magic to fit in. Do you get me?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's part of the problem where, I think when you go into continental competition again, you have to make sure that, your home based players can compete at that level, and the import players that you bring in are also part of the system. I didn't what hear that interview. I did see snippets of it, but I think there has to also be an agreement with club ownership, that this
Exactly.
is the kind of player that fits the system, and
Hmm.
this is the kind of player that will get us results. I mean, guys like Will Perry are very experienced. Atem Majok has won this tournament as a US Monastir player. He fits into the team system that most teams implement. So I think maybe the coach maybe could have looked at what the some of the local players, maybe gone with them a bit, since they did help the team get to the bar. I mean, also, yeah, it's also on him. He can't, put the blame solely on the import players. I mean, when you look at a guy like Divine Eke now wasn't the same Divine Eke of Rivers Hoopers, who was, one of the top players last year. So I think it's about making sure that players do fit your system, and yeah, they can get you the results that you want.
Yeah, yeah. What you said is actually true, and I side with you on that. But I think the players we are even seeing, the import players they are even bringing in, we won't say they are new players to the system because most of them are used to the system
Yeah.
already. They've been playing in the BL for some time now, or let's say since the beginning of BL, and they are used to this. So I think as a coach, you should find a better way. As a coach, as I said, as a coach, you should be a good coach where you could manage players on and off the field. It's not only about you directing the players to do this and do that on the court, but you should be able to manage them as well as a person. Because sometimes communication is also key when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
The way you speak to someone can make the person react to the way you are speaking. I don't know if you get my point, but
Yes, I
I think
understand what you're saying.
that also plays a role. That also really plays a role in that. And I think because
Yeah,
we saw him
you
from the
know,
touchline and his reactions wasn't pleasant, even in the games. from the touchline, you could see his
Yeah, I
reactions.
think you could see a sense of frustration. That's because maybe he came there, had to adjust in a short space of time, where guys like Perry Haruna had been with the club for a bit of time, so they
Exactly.
understood the system. Whereas he came from the G League and had to now quickly adapt. And he's a different kind of player, an ISO kind of player. Whereas
Exactly.
Perry Haruna, they move the ball, they know where to be when in certain places,
Yeah.
in certain plays. I mean, so yeah, you can see why Eke was frustrated. He has to adjust quickly. He has to, well, unfortunately, adapt or die. And sadly, he died there, and it didn't quite work out. It didn't quite work out. So yeah, that's the end result. So it's maybe something ASVille Dakar should learn from, and going forward, know which players will fit the system or identify early so that you get the desired results.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so moving away from the Sahara Conference, we're going to witness another conference take part in Rwanda, which is
Yeah.
the Nile Conference, where we're going to see some teams in the likes of Nairobi City Tender, Al Ali Tripoli, APR Basketball Club, and South Africa's very own Made by Ball MBB. What is
Yes.
before we move forward, I want to know what's your take on this teams or this conference? What do you think about this conference?
I think the strong team is the Libyan team, El Ahly Tripoli. If you saw them in
Certainly.
the road to BAL, they did extremely well, winning the Western of the road to BAL. So they are definitely favorites to win the conference. I mean, they'll probably be inspired by the feat of Al Ahly Benghazi last year, making it from the road to
Exactly.
BAL to the finals. So yeah, and they have the type of players that can get it done. You have guys like Mohamed Sadi, Nassim Badrouche,
Exactly.
domestic players. They did well for the national team, also
A lot
in
of
the
experience.
AfroBasket qualifiers. So yeah, so those they know what it takes to play in these kinds of competitions. You've got Egyptian big man Essam Mare as well, who played in the 2023 World Cup for his
Yeah.
country. So and who else? Jean-Jacques Boissy. He was at Reg recently and
Yeah.
joined. Yeah, later on also played in the road to BAL with Burundi's Urunani. So they've got
Exactly.
quite a number of good quality players. So
And
yeah, a lot is it will be expected of them. The home club, of course, APR, they were disappointing last year, so they want to make up for it this year, especially playing in front of their
home crowd.
home crowd. Yeah, you've got guys like who's this Aliou Diarra, who was at Fus Rabat last year, and the year before I think
Yeah,
was
in the
part
year
of Stade
before.
Malien.
Stade
So a
Malien,
lot
yeah.
will be expected of him. Rebound, scoring. Dane Miller recently joined.
Exactly.
Always makes a team better. We'll see how he adjusts in a short space of time. Obadiah Noel as well, one of the top
Yeah, we
scorers
journey.
for the team last year. Yeah, so there's quite some good quality there. Nairobi City Thunder, yeah, they were helped a lot by the presence of Majok and Haruna, but they moved on. So we'll see about them. They've got a great player in Tyler Ongwae, who's very accomplished, winning the Euro Cup a couple of years ago with his, was it a club from Germany? Yeah,
Yeah.
probably one of the greatest players to come from Kenya.
Exactly.
Derek Ogechi, sharpshooter, yeah, and also a guy who's very familiar to South Africans, Evans Ganapamo as
Iganapamo.
well,
Yeah,
a
exactly.
guy who can get buckets. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's probably a good team. Of course, MBB, South Africa's representatives.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've also got some quality players. They brought in Robinson Opong, who's a Ugandan international and
Exactly.
also played in the inaugural BAL, like Four River
Yeah, for
Supers and recently
Oil
City
City Oilers.
Oilers. So he's a guy who can also get buckets at this level. Our own Nati Sibanyoni, a holder of records in the
20,
BAL, a rebounding
20
record, and also record holder in Burundi of
VBL.
rebound. I mean, record holder of rebounds in Burundi as well.
Burundi.
So, yeah, they've got somebody, big man, Peter Prinsloo. He's a very solid player inside, outside. Yeah. And who else? Well, also, they recruited David Craig,
Yeah.
also a very big man.
Giovanni Mori.
We still have to see what he can produce at this level. Veteran player like Newa Mutiba, yeah, he can get buckets, provides a lot of experience as well in terms of leading in high pressure situations. So, well, he's a bit on the other side of 40, but so we'll see what he can do at that level.
Okay, thank you very much on that. And okay, so talking about players, I want us to go through the
Yeah,
players being signed by some teams, some few players being signed.
yeah,
So we'll take a look at Al Ali Tripoli, where they signed
yeah,
John Thompson. John Thompson played in the Philippine League last season, I guess, for San Diego or something like that. I'm not sure. But he played over there. We've got Kalib Agada, who is not a stranger to African basketball. He's from Nigeria. Very solid,
yes,
been solid for Nigeria in the AfroBasket qualifiers as well. We've got Jalen Adams,
yeah,
who also played in the Australian National Basketball League. I think he won the
oh,
MVP
yes,
last season. And so I think Al Ali Tripoli has got a very solid team. And I think
team.
they are the most decorated team now in this conference with lots of shooting guns. I would say a lot of shooting guns. And moving forward to we go to Nairobi City Tender. We'll see Evans Ganapamo there. We'll see William Davis
Yeah,
the second, who they re-signed as well, and
yes,
Maka
yes,
Imbaki Dion, the South Sudanese who they just signed from the States as well. They got some few players also, but I think they didn't add them to the leagues. They've got like Nana Apia from a Ghanaian base, US ball player. Yeah, they've got a Brazilian, Felicio Perez or something like that, but I think also didn't come with them. They didn't add him to the list. I don't know why. Maybe they might have their own reasons, but yeah. So APR, as you said, they've got Dane Miller, they've got Dylan Shoma, they've got Neo Obadia, they've got
yes.
Chasen Randall, they've got Sano Rutakita, one of their own, and they've got Yusuf Ndoi from Senegal, if the name is
Yes,
right. Ndoi from Senegal as
yeah,
well. Yeah, and our very own South African MBB, they've got Daniel Gregg, Tifal Leonard Jr., they've got
yeah,
Jovan Morin, Omar Tillmans. Then they brought Peter Prinsloo inside also, and
yeah,
the record holder, Natis Mbayoni, which I'm not surprised
yes,
is going to deliver as well as he always does.
yeah,
The BL, yeah. I think he's comfortable in the BL now. You can probably say that's his
yeah,
home. So yeah,
yes,
I think
yeah,
but for me, I think there's going to be a little bit competition because NBB they are newcomers into the game into this conference, and Nairobi City Tenders are also new to this whole thing. So I think we can give the spot to Al Ali Tripoli, which will say okay
yeah.
they are there. APR also with some little experience, we can say okay they there also, and I think
I
the third
think
and fourth will be between MBB and Nairobi City Tender, if I might say.
I think in terms of recruiting as well, APR have a formidable team now that you've
Yeah,
also
exactly.
added a few names there that are experienced. So maybe they take the first, second spot as well. They could give
Yeah,
El Ahly Tripoli a run from them for their money.
the money. Yeah,
Then obviously Nairobi City Thunder and MBB will probably fight it out for the third spot.
yeah,
With MBB also, obviously, we haven't seen much of the recruits. That's what the American that came through as well. This is
mm.
Te-
Tifal Leonard.
yes, Tifal Leonard. We have to see what he can do. A G League player, from what I saw, also put
Yeah,
up very good numbers in the G League. So it will
exactly.
be interesting what he can do. Of course, Javon Mooring, when I looked him up, he hadn't played. He last played basketball around 2020, 2021. So
Yeah,
there's a couple of years that he hasn't played basketball. So
mm.
a bit what concerning there, what he can do at that level. So yeah,
Yeah,
uh, Well, I guess we are hopeful that because it's a South African team, but also there are a few questions to be asked about them.
Exactly. Exactly. You were at the last practice section, if I'm not mistaken, and we didn't see
Yes,
Sam
correct.
Vincent. We didn't see their coach Sam Vincent in those moments you captured. Is he still with the team or he stepped down?
Yes, according to the owner, Cyril Shabalala, he's still part of the team. Dean Murray is an assistant. He's an experienced coach as well, having coached REG of Rwanda in the BAL. So he was just the what manning the ship while St. Vincent was away. I didn't follow up where he was, but yes, according to the owner Cyril Shabalala, yes, St. Vincent was still part of the team.
Okay, okay, that's nice. All we can say is we wish them all the best, though it's not going to be an easy run for them. Yeah, they know what they're up for, so they know what they are going to face. So yeah, all the best to them. And South Africa, I think South Africa as a nation will solidly be behind them to deliver.
Yeah, definitely. We have to root for them. Hopefully, we see them in Pretoria so that they can bring the crowds to the Sunbet
Exactly,
Arena when the playoffs come to the country.
exactly. So moving to our last topic for today, which is going to be
Yeah.
South Africa, the South African Basketball National League, which is starting on the 17th of May, coming Saturday.
Yes, this Saturday.
I have a mixed feeling about this. My first question on this topic is it the right time to start the league, knowing that BAL is also starting on this particular day? Is it right for them to start a league?
Well, yeah, it's a bit concerning that they do. Maybe they have their program and they're proceeding with it. In other countries, when their clubs go and play in the BAL, they stop their own programs so that they can support the clubs that are playing there. But because MBB is not part of the BNL, so maybe the BNL is not concerned about that. They are just proceeding with their program. Also, there are issues between the National Federation ended their license with the BNL last year. So BNL are just an entity on their own and have their own program that they are running.
I still can't
Yeah,
wrap my head around it. So the second question was,
yeah.
do you think BNL is putting South African basketball on the map that it should be, on the level that it should be?
There was a time when it was the case around from when it started 2013 to 2016, but sadly, it has deteriorated over the years and, it's become what it is. I don't think it attracts that much interest from fans. I mean, I'm sure you've watched games while you were here, and yeah, it doesn't draw the kind of excitement that it used to. And yeah, it hasn't moved the needle for South Africa at all.
Yeah, because I am very skeptical about the way they run this BNL thing, and there is a whole lot of questions I have around it, especially
I
whereby
think one of the things
yeah, you can come. I'm listening.
Sorry to cut you off. I think one of the issues is also in terms like how you say running the game. You have to have the right personnel in place to help you grow your product, and you
Exactly.
need a person who's very well versed on marketing. It can't just be a person who's maybe, let's say, a club owner and has no and is just put in the board, and he's now said you are the head of marketing but has no experience in that discipline. So that's probably one of the problems. You need people that know the business of sports, the business of basketball, so that the brand can grow.
Yeah, because the reason why I say this is we've seen leagues in which don't even have the TV rights. They don't even have good TV rights to broadcast their games, and but still we hear of those leagues. We see what they are putting out there. Whereas BNL is very in the advantageous position because they've got DSTV covering most of their games. Sometimes I get calls from friends, I get messages from friends outside the country, and they're like, "Yo, bro, we've been watching most of your games, and we don't see much competitions." Sometimes I don't know what to say because people outside don't see much competition in the BNL. And
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
problem.
you have to question the foundation of it. I mean, was it built on the right foundation? Maybe in theory, yes, but in practice, you can see over the years, like I said, it has deteriorated and become what it is now. So you have to say, is the person driving it the right one? Do they know the business of sports? Like, are you capitalizing on the fact that you appear on DSTV? I mean,
Hmm.
those are the things. Maybe when you compare it to a league like Angola, they maybe the league is built on a sound foundation, so that's why they are successful. Maybe here and there may be issues, but the foundation is what's important.
Yeah, because I felt because for me personally, when I got to know about the BNL, I normally don't see it as a league. What I used to call it is
Yeah,
I call it a provincial tournament. To be sincere with you, I
yeah,
call it a provincial tournament because teams are being gathered from the provinces. Players play in the districts, go for trials for the provincial teams. Because we all know we've got Cape Town Mountaineers, we've got Mpumalanga
yeah,
Rhinos, we've got the Igolo Magics, we've got Shwani Suns. We've got teams from provinces, and these are not professional
yeah,
teams that play the national championship to qualify to BAL. When it comes to the national champion, we see different teams. So we can't call this a professional league, or we can't say this is BNL is a league that's it's promoting basketball in Africa, because even they can't sell the players' rights. They are not able to sell the players that play in the BNL. Sorry, because the only thing we see is we see them play BNL, they come back to their provinces, and we don't hear anything again. We don't see the marketing. We don't see the social
exactly.
media presence. We don't see the social media presence of this
Yes,
whole BNL. If we've seen, we've got
yeah.
social media pages, they've got everything, but we don't see anything. We don't hear anything. We follow the pages, but we don't see concrete informations regarding the league.
Yes, that's one of the issues where, like you say, it's a provincial tournament league for what, 2 months and then you're done. That's basically a tournament. And
Exactly.
again, you have to ask, what is it founded on? I mean, when you see a team like Tswane Suns, is it really before it was a team in Tswane, but now has moved to Joburg because players live and work in Joburg? So those are the things you have to question. If where are the roots of the teams, and is there something tangible like activities that they're involved in to help grow the game of basketball in the off season and prior to the season beginning?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. They are exceptional players playing in the BNL league. Very exceptional. Especially when you look at the female department, you've got Stalita, the former MVP, and you see how she dominates. You could see that this she's talented and could play outside of South Africa. She could play in some teams from Burundi or from Rwanda or from Nigeria. She could get that offers. But what? How come a whole league system who has the TV rights from DSTV it's not pushing and promoting their players? It kills the player spirit. Because I'm going to play. Let's take for example, I'm going to be playing BNL for years, 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 and still I don't get that
Yeah.
marketing that I need. The league doesn't market the players that play in the league. We just play and come back to our provinces and stay at home. That doesn't add up.
Again, Kwaku, you have to ask, man, who's in charge of marketing? And to your point
Yeah,
on players playing in Nigeria or thing, if they were that good, then obviously scouts would come. I mean, a player like Ipile Nyako, who plays for Tswane Suns, went and played in what's this Tanzania, and also played in the continental qualifiers, the Zone 5 qualifiers. Probably one of the most talented players to come from this country. She's only one player, but where are the other players? Yeah, like you questioned, yeah, the BNL is a league that appears on DSTV. How come those players are not being seen and being selected to come and play
exactly.
in leagues outside the country? And another thing as well, you find that, teams from districts are much stronger than, teams from the BNL. We've
Exactly.
seen
Exactly.
results where teams like, yeah, Soweto Panthers lose to maybe a Josie Nuggets or a Midrand Heat.
Mm,
So how competitive is the BNL if those are the results we are getting?
And one thing I also don't understand, whereby they have this rule whereby players playing in the BNL can't play in their district teams. I find that a bit disturbing because the district is providing you with the players to play in your league. So how then do you have this rule that if you are playing the BNL, you don't have the right to play in the district leagues?
I think that was a conflict between the league and the federation, national federation, when it was over the issue of licensing, where BSA had announced that yes, we are moving on because our licensing agreement had ended. BSA made the move to say we don't acknowledge, we don't recognize players that have played in the BNL, that
Mm,
play in the BNL. If you play for your district team, that's where you stay. But I think this year that rule has changed. The BNL have said you can play for your
okay.
district team as well. So yeah, they've changed that.
So
So I guess it helps, but the thing that's at is just bad politics at play. That's what is holding back the BNL and the South African game because of conflict between individuals
so
within
yeah.
BSA and BNL.
Last year we saw a new addition to the BNL league where we had the school challenge, the schools challenge. We saw the high schools partake in the BNL when they named it the school challenge, where we think we saw the Soweto Basketball Academy win in the male division or the female division, if I'm to be correct. Are we seeing anything new?
Yeah.
Are we seeing anything new in this upcoming season of the BNL?
Let's hope they haven't made any announcement. So you can't do something just to tick the box. You have to do it because it's something that is going to grow the game. And, so if that continues, good for the BNL. If it doesn't, then yeah, obviously it was being done for the wrong reasons.
Okay, thank you, Chief, and I really appreciate your thoughts and your feeds on this discussion and on this whole BNL thing. I think we have to wait and see what they are going to give us. Anything they give us, we are going to take and watch. We will come back here and still analyze it for them to know if they are doing the right thing or the wrong thing to benefit the country. Yeah, for sure. And we are not going to sit back and not say we won't talk about it. The moment we see something wrong, that's why we are here to discuss about the basketball. This
Yeah,
is the way we can grow the sport.
definitely.
Yeah, so we will come back here if we see something wrong. We will sit here and say it again. That's for sure.
Of course, yeah.
That's for sure.
Thank you very much for the invite, Kwaku. I really appreciate it. And once again, yes, keep growing. And yes, we love the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I really appreciate also for making out time to join me on this episode of Growing the Game. Thank you for watching another yeah. Thank you for watching another episode of Growing the Game podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode and do not forget to subscribe and follow all our social media platforms for more podcasts of content. Catch you guys on another episode. Bye for now.